All right. So yesterday we had the big game. Hi, my name is Diego305. By the way, if you're watching this, please like and subscribe. I'm desperate for that. Clippers won. Clippers lost by 3 points to the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell went off, and I wrote a shitload of notes. I rewatched the game this morning. I was like, let me take some notes and let's look at all these thoughts I have, right, and just like I wrote, a decent amount of notes. Not too much, but crazy. Rewatching the game, speeding through it, skipping timeouts and free throws and shit like that. I was able to rewatch it again. And I had a bunch of ideas. But the thing is, like, ultimately, what's going to matter here is this dude right here. This is the guy. What he does in this series is what's going to make the difference for both teams. Because the way the Jazz managed to be so amazing this year was that they have what's his name? Here he is, Rudy Gobert. They had Rudy Gobert setting screens, and after he sets screen, he cuts hard to the rim in a way that, like, with his size and athleticism and his ability to dunk the ball from different angles, if you don't get a body on him immediately, he's gonna dunk it. They're gonna give him an easy alley oop, and he's gonna dunk it. He's too good. He's too big, and he's too skilled around the rim. So what happens, right, is that you bring a weak side defender over to touch him just to stop his momentum. But what happens is then you have Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley and even Joe Ingles, who are all good passers, going at a defense that is already giving them an easy pass to somewhere. So then some defenses will take away that easy pass, but then that opens passes everywhere. It just creates an advantage for them, right? It creates like a little advantage, and they have too many good shooters. They made the most threes ever, right? Or at least like per game they made the most threes ever for an NBA team. And that's a lot of it is due to Rudy Gobert's ability to like cave the defense in. Even if he's not scoring, he doesn't score a lot of points, right? He's never been a big time scorer. But he gets the defense to have to cave in to deal with him, right? Because if he's not going to score 50 points, but if you don't put a hand on him and stop him from rolling to the rim free, he will. He absolutely will. There's nothing stopping him. He's not going to miss a bunch of layups and dunks, right? The thing is, the way the Clippers play defense, and the reason they're starting Nick Batum, is that they can switch everything, right? So you don't create the advantage on the pick and roll. There's a second guy, like as soon as you set the screen, the guy who's playing defense, let's say Kawhi Leonard is guarding Donovan Mitchell, Nicholas Batum is guarding Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert comes to set the screen. Instead of like playing the pick and roll like most teams do, which is how they got their advantage, how the Jazz create this advantage on other teams, they just put if Mitchell goes around the screen, Batum will pick him up, and Kawhi will stay with Rudy Gobert, who's like, again, if he gets a free run to the rim, he'll score. But he's not going to post up Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't have the moves. He doesn't have the touch to take hooks and stuff like that. He can lay it in and dunk it. But if you push him out 5 to 10 feet, he loses a lot of that value, right? So that's what's going to make it so hard for the Jazz to score, because all these really smart, talented scorers, right? Jordan Clarkson, Bogdanovich, Joe Ingles, even Royce O'Neal, who can hit an open shot, although he didn't yesterday. All these guys, it's based on the initial action, right? The initial action makes the play for them. And last night, the part of the reason Donovan Mitchell was able to get 30 shots, which is in itself, like whether or not he makes them, being able to get 30 shots is a big deal, and then being able to convert enough to have 45. So that's, tremendous efficiency to take 30 shot attempts into 45 points. He a lot of times was able to attack Luke Kennard, who obviously they would not allow Luke Kennard to guard him one-on-one, but what the Clippers would do is they would actually turn it into regular pick and roll defense, right? Where Luke Kennard tries to run up, he's trying to put a hand on Donovan Mitchell just enough so that he can't make a play, to give the guy who's supposed to be guarding Donovan Mitchell time to get back. The problem is Donovan Mitchell has gotten really good. His ball handling is so crisp, and his ability to hit step backs if you give him just a little bit of space. I mean, he took 15 threes last night. He made 6, which is enough, right? You shot 40% in a game. That's enough. It's not an amazing game if you took 15 threes and hit 6 of them, but it's enough. And that's what matters, right? The Clippers had so many minutes with Luke Kennard. I mean, he played 30 minutes, and then Rondo played another 30, or 29, or 28, I'm sorry. And what's frustrating about that is that it just gives, like, the whole point of playing a switching defense is you take away easy lanes of attack. And then they give them to him. by playing Luke Kennard so many minutes and Rajon Rondo so many minutes. And I get it. Like, you need offense from somewhere. And this guy didn't help, right? Paul George going 4 for 17. Oops, I don't want to highlight everybody, but Paul George going 4 for 17 is like a problem. He can't do that, right? But he didn't go 4 for 17 because Utah were doing something crazy. Dude, he missed a lot of open shots. I went through and watched it. The vast majority are shots that he makes. Like, yes, Rudy Gobert did make it a little bit harder where he can't do his like snake type dribble where he gets into the paint and goes super slowly and then finds a lane to like put up a float or a layup. Those were less available. But he also had a bunch of open shots. He ended up going 3 for 8, but there's a lot of middies that he's more than capable of making. Like, what is Paul George on mid-rangers this year? Did I spell his name right? Yes, I did. Paul George stats. Like, let's see, what did he shoot on mid-rangers this year? Enough where, like, the performance last night was, like, not appropriate, right? It's not, like, commensurate to the talent he has. Let's see, shooting, right? So he didn't take a lot of mid-rangers, 10 and 10, basically. 3 out of 10, a little bit, from 3 to 10 feet, a little bit more. But look at the efficiency, right? Like, if he's taking those shots, they're usually pretty good shots. Like, that's not great, but 40 to 44 to 50, it's pretty good. Like, you live with that for the most part on offense, especially in the playoffs. And you expect him to make more of that. And he didn't make it. He didn't make it last night. But yeah, I was shocked. I don't know why Nick Batum didn't play more and why Terrence Mann didn't play more. Like, I get they needed the offense from this guy, but you have to, like, here's the thing. If Kawhi and Paul George aren't scoring, and they didn't score enough last night, they just didn't. Like, 19 shots for 23 points is not enough from Kawhi. They need more. If he's not scoring, you're not going to win anyways. So there's no point in giving fucking Luke Kennard that many minutes. Like, it's in the last 5 minutes of the game, if you watch it, almost every single possession, but there was like one possession that did not involve Luke Kennard being brought into the defensive action and forced to make a play somehow. And the thing is, Luke Kennard, while being very talented offensively, he's a good dribbler. He can shoot off the dribble. He's a passer, a little bit of a passer, but, you know, he can get buckets. He helps the offense out. He's such a liability on defense. Like, he tries, dog. He tries, but he's got T-Rex arms, and he just can't stop a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who's much more athletic and has a much bigger wingspan. What is Donovan's wingspan? Because I know Donovan is actually shorter than Luke Kennard, but he's too fast, and he's too skilled. Like, he needs, like, he's a 6'10" wingspan. Like, come on, man. I don't know if that's accurate, but it looks like he has a massive wingspan. And Luke Kennard has, I'm pretty sure, either a negative wingspan or an even wingspan, which means that if Luke Kennard is 6'3" and he has a negative wingspan, that means his wingspan is less than his height, right? So even if he's an inch or two taller than Donovan, which he is, he can't do anything. He can't make up that difference with Donovan's athleticism, quickness, and his ability to shoot in tight spaces. You need better than that. Also, this is not as important, but just very funny. DeMarcus Cousins played 4 minutes, and it took like 5 hours because he committed 3 fouls. So every time there's a foul, it stops the clock. And also, he kept getting fouled. Let me disconnect something real quick. Okay. He kept getting fouled. So he was just like, and I think there was a review too. There was a review. So it just like, it slowed the game down so much. But he played well, honestly. Like, he only played 4 minutes, but they were full of effort. He hit a 3-pointer, got a free throw, hit a layup running in transition, got a stop on Rudy Gobert. +6. That's interesting, right? Him and Ibaka. That's the other thing. I don't know why they're so committed to, like, hey, if you're not gonna play Batum, like, play Zubac or play Cousins. Like, Rudy Gobert was not dominating on them. He wasn't going crazy. Like, they both did a really good job of boxing out. Because that's the thing, right? When you go small and play Nick Batum at center, you're like, oh, well, maybe Rudy Gobert is either gonna get mismatches and he's gonna start posting up and hitting layups and stuff like that. He's not gonna do that. And the other worry is he's going to get a crap load of offensive rebounds. He didn't really do that. 3 is, like, not nothing, but it's not changing the world. Like, there's certain sacrifices you give in every type of lineup you play in this sport, right? In every sport, you make sacrifices to, like, try to get the most out of your players, right? You can't take away everything. And one of the things you're worried about when you start a 6'8", 6'9" dude at center who's, like, 210 pounds, 220 pounds, is that Rudy Gobert, who's 7'1" and has a 7'9" wingspan, might be able to bully them on the offensive boards. He didn't do that. He wasn't a problem. He had his impact defensively, some of it, not as much as normal, because in a lot of lineups, Rudy Gobert had to guard someone on 3-point line, and that's the problem. Like, right? Why do you have Rajon Rondo if you're also gonna have Luke Kennard? You can't have both of them. You can have one and then work the defense around that, but you can't have two of these guys. Rajon Rondo is just too small. Offensively, if he can have some impact, if he can't run pick and roll at all, his pick and roll is worthless because Rudy Gobert is not. He's too big. He's too long. He doesn't bother. Like, Rajon Rondo does not bother him at all. The only impact Rajon Rondo can have is if they double team Kawhi, he can be the first pass because he can attack a 4-on-3, right? Like, there's two guys on Kawhi, so it take away one guy for the Clipper and two guys for the Jazz. Now they're playing 4-on-3. Rajon Rondo can attack that and find shooters or get to the rim for a layup. He can do that. But other than that one specific scenario, he's limited because, yes, he can hit a three. He's a good three-point shooter now, but the volume is so low it doesn't matter, right? If you hit one or two three-pointers a game, no one's changing their defense because of that. They'll still put Gobert on him or whatever and just play it out. I don't understand why Nicholas Batum didn't get. I don't think he was a big problem. Like, the Jazz went on a run in minutes where, like, Kawhi Leonard was on the court and they were playing like Luke Kennard and Rajon Rondo a lot. Like, you're begging for it, right? You're asking for problems. I don't know. The Clippers, the reason he's +4 is because the Clippers are still able to close the gap at the end of the game. But part of it is just because every time they got close, Donovan Mitchell would push out ahead, and they just happened to get close right at the end, right? They happened to make a couple shots, and Donovan Mitchell, who was consistently getting good looks, just happened to miss two, and I had like one bad turnover. But it wasn't really much to do with the pressure of the Clippers. The one thing the Clippers can do is, if they're not going to switch everything, right, and you can't do that if you're going to keep playing Luke Kennard, is maybe you start sending double teams and stuff like that and hope you can force Donovan Mitchell to become a passer, which he's not bad at, but that's not his primary skill, right? That's not the thing he's best at. This was really ugly for the Clippers. Now, it is important to note, they played last night, Tuesday. They just finished their 7-game series on Sunday, right? Whereas the Jazz had like 6 days off before this game. And they're playing at altitude, which is like probably difficult when you haven't had any rest, right? So I don't want to ignore that. There's a lot of reasons this could happen, and it's game 1 and it's on the road. Like, that's not the Jazz. The Clippers won 3 games on the road in the last series, so you're not thinking that the series is over by any means. They still have adjustments to make, but they need to figure out how to stop this because Donovan Mitchell is looking like he's gonna be something special. He's not quite there yet in terms of like his production for his career. He's looking like it, but his ability to just consistently get good looks on playoff defenses, that's what's going to like take it to the next level. And we can say Donovan Mitchell is like one of the elite players in the game, right? If he can be a guy that can run the offense, who you don't have to have another small point guard next to him, it really changes everything. And this season, Rudy Gobert was the best player for the Jazz because he makes them on a great defense. And even if he's not scoring, all the attention he requires from the other team makes him a special player on offense. Even if he's not scoring, right? It's just gravity. He's pulling players towards him and getting everyone else open. But in the playoffs, smart defense are gonna take him away because he's just too limited. And the Clippers could do that, right? Rudy Gobert is not a big scorer, but even for his standards, like 10 points and 2 for 6 is not good enough, right? He got the free throws, which is gonna happen. You have to be physical when you're the smaller team. But he didn't do anything that worries them. Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs has to be their best player. That's the only chance to win. And if he keeps playing like this, I mean he's not going to average 45, right? But if he can keep getting to the rim and hitting those step backs and putting pressure, this isn't the Mavericks, right? He's not Luka, but this is not the Mavericks. They have a much more well-rounded team, and they can put a lot more pressure on this team. They have threats everywhere, right? Every time they're on the court, every single guy on this team is a threat. I mean, Oni, not really, but he only played 8 minutes. Like, that's always going to be limited. George Niang is a bomber. Derek Favors, he can finish around the rim. You can't, right? He's a center, so he doesn't have to be a shooter. He's just a threat at the rim. Jordan Clarkson, not a super efficient game, but he's going to put up a lot of shots, and he's always taking tough shots, right? If you don't guard him well, he's going to get good looks. Joe Ingles, an uncharacteristically bad game for him. He's like an amazing shooter. If he gets open looks, he's going to bury them. And part of this is probably because he was playing too much point guard, which is just due to Michael Conley Jr. Is he junior? Yeah, he's junior, right? He's old now, but he's still junior. His injury caused Joe Ingles to have to do too much. But these guys like Bojan, Royce, even like to an extent, is good enough this year where you just can't leave him, right? So this is what it means. Like, this is what it means for this series. Can Donovan Mitchell be a superstar? Can he consistently create good offense against what's going to be a good defense for the rest of the playoffs, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he plays. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be the Suns in the next round, and the Suns don't fuck around either. And in the finals, I'm not saying they're getting to the finals, but I'm saying if they get there, they're going to have to play the Suns, who are just a good defense. They're going to put good defenders everywhere on the court. They don't play a bad defender. Devin Booker's their worst defender, and he's 6'5", and he tries hard, right? And that's not bad. And then in the finals, it's probably going to be either the Nets, which will present they shouldn't be a great defense, but you're going to have to stop them, and that's going to be hard. Or the Bucks and the Sixers, who are absolutely good defenses. So he's going to need to prove it. Like, if they're going to live up to like the season they had, it's going to be because Donovan Mitchell is who he thinks he is, right? A superstar who deserves to be in MVP consideration and is going to make the All-Star team every year, and he's going to make the All-Pro team. So, Donovan Mitchell. I'm just going to take a quick look at my notes, make sure there's nothing like important that I really wanted to touch on. No, I think I got to most of it. Yeah, just I put it at the end. Luke Kennard still helping, except in all caps, except on defense, which he is just making life fucking unbearable for the Clippers. But yeah. All right, thanks for watching. I'm not wearing any pants today, but you don't know that, so maybe I am. I'm not, though. I'm not. Please subscribe and like, please.